My name is Nicole Chernohovsky, or Nicole C.
I'm Nicoles Zalias.
And we are the Nicoles of Larkspur Landscaping. We've taken to calling ourselves the Nicoles because when we introduce ourselves to clients, it's I'm Nicole and I'm Nicole.
So they just call us the Nicoles.
Yeah,
and
the Nicoles. It makes it, you can't mess it up, really.
Yeah,
so we started our company right around COVID. I started it through a desire to transition away from my business background into something that I felt was going to be more impactful. In COVID, gosh, I remember hearing about like the dolphins returning to the canals and there's just, because pollution had gone down and there's just such a noticeable positive impact. Starting this business was truly a labor of love, and getting to interface with clients and, learn. And the business model has changed from just trying to make, a beautiful garden to trying to make a beautiful and functional garden, to trying to educate, our clients so that they can educate their friends and educate their children. And, 19 months ago, 20 months ago now, I had a son, and, right from the earliest possible moment that I could, having him out in the garden, smelling the plants and like watching the bees. Granted, he calls ants bees now too. He's like, bee, everything is a bee. But, he is immersed in nature in a way that I didn't have the opportunity to be when I was growing up. And I think that that's just so special, quiet times in the garden, observing nature, picking up pine cones, and just being a part of the ecosystem instead of just being a passive observer is something that I'm really passionate about, and something that I think at least the clients that we attract and that we work with are also incredibly passionate about it. And it just makes going to work every day a transformative experience and so fulfilling, regardless of the stress of everything that's going on in the world and the climate change and all of that. I really do feel that we're doing work that can make a difference. Mm-hmm. Audrey Hepburn said, planting a garden is to believe in tomorrow. I'm paraphrasing, but I think we're leaving. I wouldn't call it a legacy. So
I would.
Would you call it a legacy?
Yes.
Your kids are definitely garden kids.
They're garden kids.
They've been in the garden forever. They
Nina, know the botanical names.
Nina, your 7-year-old, is like doing landscape drawings.
Yep, she did her first landscape drawing of our front yard. I'm going to let her redesign it with my support, obviously. But
large swaths of flowers.
Large swaths.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be expensive. I know it.
Yep. So I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up in New York. Moved around a lot as a kid. I think it was like 18 times between like elementary school and where I am now. But our yards were always my like place of peace. Like it just, when you're the new kid at school, it's rough. So yeah, having a backyard and just being able to, we had massive yards everywhere we moved. And I can remember like with my brother, we had a pond down the street where we lived in the Poconos, and we would catch frog eggs and let them hatch. There was a Jeep that had the top ripped off, and we used to flip it over, and
You would flip over a Jeep?
It was like the top of it. It was like the fabric. And it was like a snake den. And so we would go out with a little bag, and like my brother would capture a snake and he would be our pet for a week, which I would never do that now. But we were just always outside. We were always outside. We were always exploring. And I went back a few years ago just to drive by my old home, and they filled the pond in. And it was just such a heartbreaking. That pond like was such a formative space for me as a kid. Oh, I could tear up thinking about it. And they just, they developed on top of it. And I was like, where did all these frogs go and the snakes? And like, I just spent so much time in that meadow around the pond too. And I feel like that moment really impacted me. And then moving to Colorado, where, we don't really have large lawns, in my parents' house in New York, they have like 20 plus acres. And they've got fruit trees and vegetable gardens and perennial gardens. And my grandmother was a gardener. She could grow anything right in her living room. She was the best. Violet. Very appropriate name. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of always been in my blood. And it wasn't until we started chatting, and you're like, do you want to do this? And I was like, do I want to do this? And I was like, I finally get where people used to say, like, I'm in my power. I'm like, okay. But now I get what that means. Like, I get when you find the thing that you were meant to do and how powerful that feeling is. And you just want to do it all the time. And you want to talk about it all the time. And yeah, it feels really good to be able to do this too and talk to other people about it.
So lucky you're my business partner.
I'm so lucky you're my best
20
friend.
years later.
20 years later. Yeah, we met. Nicole taught me.
I taught you how to rock climb.
She taught me. I knew how to rock climb. You taught me how to tie ropes for rock climbing, for self-rescue.
Crazy. What a lifetime ago.
That was like 20 plus years ago in Valhalla, New York.
Good old New York State,
Yep.
Bringing people together.
Yeah, and we found ourselves out here together, and now we're doing Larkspur together and designing gardens together, and
It's a magical thing.
it really is.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too.